and welcome to Transformations Café, where we're serving light as bold as love. I'm your host, Ken Marks. Transformations Café is brought to you by the Institute for Global Transformation. We're a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization, and our vision is a world working together to utilize the power, love, and wisdom of higher consciousness to benefit humanity and the planet. Our mission is to support transformations in consciousness and in the way humanity interacts with one another so as to bring about positive change in the world individually and collectively. We invite you to visit our website at theglobaltransformation.org. You'll find a lot of resources there. And if you'd like to become part of the IFGT community, there is a join button at the top of each page on the website. And if you'd like to support our work, including programs like this one, there's also a donate button at the top of each page, and that will take you straight through to PayPal. This program is being recorded and will be published on IFGT's YouTube channel. And for those of you with us this evening, if you do choose to participate in the conversation, we'll accept your participation as your implied consent to appear on the YouTube publication. We also would welcome everybody to please subscribe to our channel on YouTube and use the bell icon to make sure you get notified whenever we put new information up on the channel, including when this program becomes available. So with that introduction, I want to mention that this edition of Transformations Cafe will be going a bit deeper into our explorations of spirituality, consciousness, and the ageless wisdom. And I think a lot of us may have already experienced that our spiritual paths can feel kind of deceivingly as if they're a route leading to some final destination or ultimate conclusion. In contrast to this, though, many others have pointed out that that actually really isn't the case. And Tammy Simon, the founder of Sounds True, once put it this way: there is no there. So that said, I do think our path is kind of a quest, one which we're continuously getting closer to the maxim, know thyself. Our guest today, Dr. Lissa Friedman, shares much more on these aspects of our self-realization in her third and most recent book, There Is Always More. And this is Lissa's second time joining us on Transformations Cafe, although the first appearance was all the way back in August of 2021. I couldn't believe it was that long ago when I
Oh
looked
my
it up.
goodness. Wow.
That interview is on our Transformations Cafe / Meet the Author playlist on our YouTube channel. So please, if you would like to go back and see it, it's easy to find in that playlist. Lissa and I also had a chance to catch up a little bit yesterday and noted that we've known and interacted with each other for at least 15 years and talked again just before we started recording. It's probably closer to 20. So Lissa, thank you so much again for everything you shared and yes, taught me. I do regard you as a teacher, and for joining us again on Transformations Cafe. It's wonderful to have you back. Lissa Friedman, who has the credentials PhD, LPC, and CHT, practices holistic psychotherapy, integrating a variety of healing modalities, including psychodynamic psychotherapy, transpersonal hypnotherapy, a deep understanding of the Enneagram, and art therapy. She has a master's / specialist in counseling, a PhD in art therapy, and certification in transpersonal hypnotherapy. Lissa co-founded the Enneagram Center of Asheville, known as the Embodiment Tradition. She has over 40 years experience offering psychotherapy to adults, adolescents, children, couples, and families. While Lissa's approach is eclectic, utilizing all her experience and expertise, her style is to hold an open space of acceptance and compassion, allowing each person to come into attunement with their already complete essential nature. Lissa is author of 3 books, Boundless, From the Heart of Boundless, and the one we'll be touching on this evening, There Is Always More. She is also a teacher of non-duality. We invite you to learn more about Lissa and her work at her website, lissalfriedman.com, LISSALFRIEDMAN.com. And we will also have this URL in the program notes on YouTube. So with that, let's start off. I thought maybe what we would do is just talk about the book, but I want to let our audience know that we're not trying to walk through every chapter and page. We're going to touch on things that we both kind of came to in our discussion yesterday, thought would be things that would be of the greatest service for the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And so I want to encourage people with us today, as well as anyone who sees this in the future, get the book. It's really an experience that I think reading the whole thing and kind of absorbing it at your own pace is crucial to really getting it. And I hope this program will stimulate you and pique your interest and whet your appetites to do that. But highly encourage you to get the book. It was a great experience for me reading it. I'd also like to mention at the outset that someone who is in our audience tonight had a key role in the book. Another dear friend, Debbie Van Scaff, who has published a book of her poems recently. Her poetry is featured in There Is Always More at the end of each chapter. And it's just a beautiful way to kind of capture the sentiment and the spirit of each message in each chapter. So Debbie, thank you for those beautiful contributions. I picked out a couple of favorites. So if the time and the moment provides, we may share some of those too, but wanted to make sure we thank you for your contributions as well. So Lissa, maybe if you could, I think it might be helpful if we don't assume that people know your work, and maybe start off with your sharing what do you mean boundless?
Yes, I think this is a good place to start. And it's a good lead into there is always more.
Mm-hmm.
So our essential nature is constant, always there, and never changes. We get to it by peeling away everything that is non-essential. In other words, everything that comes and goes. Our thoughts come and go, our emotions come and go, our beliefs come and go, our concepts come and go, our identity comes and goes, it changes, and there's something that's left. And I will do a little exercise a little later in the hour, but what's left is still, quiet, endless, beginningless, boundless. It's that quality that is, we could say, underneath everything that appears. Everything appears within it, comes and goes, and what's left is the foundation. Some people call it consciousness itself, infinite, divine. There's a lot of language for it, but any word we use can only point to it, is not it, but gives us a flavor, gives us a sense of this expanded, never ending, never beginning, has no boundary, always present, but very simple, quiet, still, empty, but not but alive, vibrant. That's what boundless is, and that's what our nature is. And so what this book talks about is that's always constant. But as we grow and evolve, we get to learn about it and experience it more and more deeply, more profoundly. Our experience of it grows and changes and evolves, and then that can give us the illusion that consciousness itself, or our essence, is changing, and it's not. All that's happening is My beliefs are beginning to fade away. What is in shadow comes into light and fades away. My identity, I see through there and it fades away. So everything that filters it is dissolving and becoming more porous so I can know my nature more deeply. And that's why there's always more. Because I think as long as we are alive, and maybe even beyond that, who knows, right? But as long as we are alive, there's something filtering our knowing of our nature, which is, by the way, the nature of everyone. So it's not, what I'm not talking about is a sense of, quote, self-actualization, which a lot of people, go through in their spiritual work, which is a knowing of who Lissa is. Lissa has this kind of intellect. Lissa has this kind of creativity. Lissa is this way, that way. That's not what I'm talking about at all. That comes and goes. What is essential, that boundless stillness, is the same here as it is for everyone there.
That knowing of boundless is truth, and
True. Yes, that's
it
right.
shows up in multiple ways. The person I study with has said, the wisdom is the wisdom. You will find the same truths no matter which presentation of it you run into. And in my path and some of the people we've had as guests on this program, uh, Michael Singer, we have not interviewed, but his work touches these same things. Uh, Philip Wade, who we interviewed last July, same things that were arrived at through their own pathways, but it all gets to the same place. That I think is a key to knowing, okay, this is a something real, and it's something that humans and
And,
maybe other
and
beings have
you
come to
and,
know.
and you're citing people that are alive now. This goes back
Right,
way, way back. This is
right,
not a new truth.
correct. Right. Well, and I think it comes, so that I wanted to make sure it was accurate. Know thyself, it was attributed to Socrates or even older, over the entrance to the Apollo temple at Delphi,
Yes,
right?
that's right. True.
So it's at least that old, and I think it goes back
Way back.
further. Yeah,
Way
back
back.
further. Um, One of the things that you mentioned, was that as you were writing, insights kept coming. And one of the things I think we want to spend a chunk of time today on is how we discover the more, there's always more, and looking at shadow work, looking at beliefs, and looking at ways that we identify. And so I think if you want to just start playing with some of those things, that would be great.
Sure, sure. Let's see where to start. Let's start with identity. So how I might see myself or believe myself to be um, locks me into a small version of myself. So if I have the identity, and identity is broad, but we can begin with an identity of, oh, I'm a psychotherapist, I'm an artist, I'm a certain age, I grew up in New York, uh, you know, so all those things. If I lock into that and believe that that's what I am, that becomes something that filters and makes it less clear that I'm so much more than that. Um, but it's even our identity can we can even find it in the house I live in, that I live in this kind of house, that I have a dog who's snoring right here. How I eat, what my diet is, that could become my identity. Certainly, if I have a religion, that would become part of my identity. How I know I'm a non-dual teacher. That could become my identity. Um, you know, I'm on a spiritual journey. I'm on a spiritual path. This is what I know. So all of that can become my and is an identity. So so as I began to grow, I began to like see I'm not limited to that. I'm not limited to this. I'm not, I can't even relate to having an age. Um, and a touchy topic these days is I don't even know if I have a gender. I don't know, I don't know much. If I really look at truly what I absolutely know, um, not really much at all. So now we go in, so there's like identity, but now what about my beliefs? And beliefs are sometimes they can be um, very very coarse, so that we know them. They're really really there. We really know them. And sometimes they're really subtle. And the subtle ones are the ones that kind of lurk in shadow. So we get into shadow. But our beliefs, what is right, what is wrong, and that's gonna, be big these days because there's a lot of right and wrong going on in the world right now. And as soon as we take a side and we know that this is right and this is wrong, and yes, on a level there's truth to that, but that comes and goes. So if we want to get to the essence, we have to back way up out of all, let the beliefs be there, nothing wrong, preferences, beliefs, even the identity, let it all be there. Back out, go to the expanse in which all of these things are appearing, and align yourself with what's bigger, the biggest thing. Um, and so that the beliefs don't get in the way of that. So another way for me to describe this is that in this big expansive state, um, I'm porous, I'm open, I'm relaxed. There's spaciousness. Things come and go, they flow through, right? And as soon as I say no, I don't think that's the truth. Now I've come in and I'm a smaller, denser, contracted form. And I am separate from you because you believe the other thing and I don't believe that. So now there's a me and a you, and we're opposed to each other, and there's a contraction. I have lost my connection to the expansiveness when I've done that. So there is, and all of it can exist at the same time. So let's say I'm in this expansive, know nothing, everything's included thing, and I notice a belief shows up. So I could let it be there, not attach to it, not identify as it, and let it be there, let it show up and go, because everything appears and goes there. So as we begin to see through our beliefs, our identity, then shadow begins to come through.
You mentioned the word, but I want to make sure that we emphasize it because it's a big part of your work and in this latest book, being separate. And
Ah,
and that's key. And also then as you talk about shadow, you mentioned when we spoke yesterday how we can begin to come to that awareness, because
yes,
a big part of what you're describing now and in the book is developing the ability to maintain the awareness, to
absolutely.
see something and say, oh, that's actually just a belief. And we're going
That's
to talk a little bit later about it doesn't change. The intensity can change,
yes.
but the belief is still a belief. It is not anything more. It's not that essential truth.
Right. Right. Okay. So let me see. Separate and shadow and how we work through shadow. Okay. So, mm, so when I begin to know that my true nature is this infinite boundlessness, and I really get to, and if I really can rest as that, it's not a concept, it's an embodied knowing, it's a feeling, it's a sense, it's an energy, it's alive. When I can live from there, I begin to know that that's what everybody is, and we're the same, and it's not a concept. So when that energy is open and flowing through, and I meet with someone, there's no separation. There's just this connected resonance, love, a vibration that's shared, and there is no separation.
Group
And
consciousness.
it can feel like a resonance. It's like you're so present that you're not. And it's this very simple thing. So you're having a deep conversation with someone. Um, you're feeling very connected to them, and you're having this deep conversation. And while that's going on, and the words are being exchanged and felt, and there isn't a sense of, oh, he said this, but I'm thinking that, and I don't know. I mean, I think that he is really off base, and you're in this flow together. There is no separation. There's no film between me and you. There's a connectedness. So when I know boundless, that happens more often with more people, um, more of the time than not. There isn't a sense of separation. And so then there's a sense of um, what I am is boundless itself. It is the infinite. It is consciousness. It is that in which everything is appearing, right? Now, someone can appear in there with ideas and beliefs that don't resonate with me, but it's all just appearing in balance. It can be there. It's okay. No problem. It's okay. I can have an emotion that can appear. That's okay too. I can have a preference that appears, but there is also at the same time a sense of expansiveness or spaciousness in which everything is appearing and going, appearing and going.
Someone put a question, I think Mike put a question in, and he's asking, what is it if it is not a concept? And I think you're describing an
Okay,
experienced state, right?
let's do something for a moment. I have a little exercise that we can do, and it'll take us 2 or 3 minutes.
Great.
And I think you will get a sense of what I'm talking about. So as I'm talking, you can leave your eyes open or closed, it doesn't really matter. But just so that um, the focus is in your mind and you're hearing these words. And these words that I'm saying, you are hearing them in your mind. They're the same as if you're having your own thoughts, which you could be having your own thoughts as well as my words. Maybe you're thinking, where is she going with this? I'm not really sure what she's talking about. That's okay. So now I'm going to slow it down a little bit. In between each phrase is quiet. There's a stillness. In between each phrase, each sentence, the sounds of words. Become really interested in the quiet more than the words. The quiet is a portal to the boundless. The boundless is just a quiet, still, alive presence. It's that simple. We think we're looking for something profound, mysterious. Only enlightened people know this. It is such a simple thing. It's just the quiet stillness. That. So when I say that, that's what I'm pointing to. And it's alive. So if we investigate the qualities of this stillness, it's empty, but it's alive. It has an energetic presence. We cannot find a beginning and end to it. It has no boundaries. So I began to call it boundless. So that's my little exercise. And I usually suggest to people that if they want to explore that, do that several times a day for 1 minute at a time. Just like you stop and you put your attention in your mind. What are the thoughts? What is the space between my thoughts? Can I be more fascinated with the space than I am with the words? And you begin, and that's a portal. I call it a portal because at first, when we first taste it, it's like, so what? And I give the analogy that if I'm used to eating spicy food and I'm told that I have to eat all my food without spices, at first I won't even taste the food. It'll be nothing. It'll be bland. And then you begin to taste a carrot, sweet, a tomato, celery, so salty. You begin to taste it. So that stillness is a portal to so much more. And that is what we all are.
Deepak Chopra said exactly the same thing, Lissa, that when you meditate and we get distracted by our thoughts. And he said something like, there's a time, a very small moment between one thought and the other. And he said, expand it, which sounds like exactly what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying it a little simpler, that you don't even have to try to expand it. Just pay attention. Just become more interested in that space. It will expand.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing to do when we meditate, because the thoughts jump from one to another, and to catch that split second between thoughts to try to expand it is...
Just notice it. Just notice. Yeah. Just notice that there's a space. That's all. And become interested in it. That's all. Simple.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, don't make it hard.
That's the intellect and our mind and all those things that
and those are just thoughts. That's all it is.
Yeah, but what your work is doing is helping us discern those differences, like there is space between. This is also, if you want a different version of this, or look at the work of Philip Wade. His term for boundless is infinite silence. It's the same thing. And a little sneak preview. The gentleman just speaking will be our guest on next month's program, Dr. Michael Mason. And
Nice.
Michael, I do believe you use the term oneness, and it is
Yes,
it's the same
me and
thing.
a million other people, I think.
Yeah, but it is pointing to this, and this is critical at this time because we are evolving, and we're going to touch on another aspect of Lissa's work that she's now focusing on with others to assist because, well, as we'll see, the luxuries some of us have had to go about this at our own pace over years and decades may not be available to everyone anymore. And so how we may be able to um, discover these things more easily and more rapidly, I think is something that is coming up more and more. So, but anyway, we were talking, I think we're going to talk also about the importance of discovering what's in the shadows.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about that. So, that's a difficult topic, right? Because if it's in shadow, then I don't know about it. So, and that's literally what shadow is. It's not that I know it and it's difficult to deal with. You don't even know about it. And shadow can be something wonderful about us, or it could be something awful about us, or it could be anything in between. So, how do we know when shadow might be just kind of lurking there, influencing what's going on? For me, I've noticed that if I have an unexpected reaction to something, something dings me. Ooh, they misunderstood me, or ooh, that feels bad. I don't like it when they say that. Or. I mean, it may not even have all those words, but it's like you feel dinged. You feel something got grabbed. Um, and if I look, it's like, so we have a tendency like, oh, I don't want to have that feeling, so you want to avoid it. Like, okay, just like let it go, which is fine. That's a good thing to do, right? If you find a reaction, you let it go. But you can also kind of take a look at it. Like, what is that? What is that feeling of being dinged? Which could feel a little bit like a little bit of anger, a little annoyance, but sometimes it could be shame, like an embarrassment of some sort. Oh, I just said that, and they looked at me funny, and like, what is that? And you kind of like follow it because it can take you to a deeper unresolved thing that if we go to and feel and open to with deep acceptance is another portal to the expanded state. Um, so, and anything that filters what we're calling boundless or infinite stillness or silence or oneness or whatever, anything that filters it means that we don't know it as clearly as we could. So that's why it seems like there's always more, because as we kind of see through these filters, our experience of boundless opens and becomes bigger or clearer or more direct, something like that. Um, and if we don't, if we don't see, bring the shadows into the light, they are going to keep influencing our whole experience of life. They'll inhibit us. They'll get in the way. They'll cause us to judge other people. They'll cause us to have beliefs about how things should be, and they shouldn't be like this. And these people are like that, and I don't like them. And they will keep influencing everything about our life. So it's important to look at it. Really, really important.
Yeah, I think some of the ways we speak about that today are having our buttons pushed or being triggered.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And sometimes we know it's like, oh, that's that old thing. Yeah, I know that one. But sometimes that's why I call it a surprising reaction. It's like, like it catches us off guard. It's like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Why do I have that? That doesn't make any sense. I don't understand.
And
That's
from my experience, the more intense and strong the reaction, probably the deeper in the shadows it was, and the more it's now roaring to get out because it's time. It's
it
time.
is time, yes,
Yeah.
because if it's showing up and you're noticing it, then it's pretty ready. You're ready. You're ready for it.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it's fun. Usually not.
No, no, it won't be fun.
Yeah. But it's ready to process. This is one of the areas where one of Debbie's poems in the book
Do you
just
want to
really
read that one?
resonated. And so she has agreed to read
Okay,
Peeling the
good.
Onion.
Good, good, good. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Ken, for asking me to read. That's very nice. So peeling the onion, slowly, I peel the onion, each layer covering a new skin, a new discovery. Surely by now, this must be the last layer. Then suddenly it too must be discarded for the one underneath. Over and over, I believe this layer must be the last, until one day I realize that the uncovering is the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Awesome, right? It's
I,
just,
yeah, obviously I like that one. I put it in the book.
yeah,
In
it's
the
just
in right in
perfect.
just the right place for it.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So, so the importance of shadow work. Not really, not just for our spiritual work, but for our own, life experience, which is, of course, spiritual work. But to live life fully human, fully human. So I mean, something that I've learned also along the way, because I've had, I went through various spiritual traditions, and somewhere along the way, there was a belief that I shouldn't have certain emotions, and I
Mhm.
shouldn't have strong emotions. And so I tried to suppress. I actually did pretty well at suppressing them, and kind of felt fairly sick for a while. But and then realized, no, this is not healthy. Maybe this is the wrong path for me. But so these days I feel everything, and because I don't judge any of the feelings, the emotions come, I feel them really strongly, and they live their life and they go, and then there's that open spaciousness, and then there may be another emotion that shows up that is maybe the opposite. I That comes and go, and give it its space, don't judge it. Um and so when we still have, and not that I'm sure I still have shadow, but I don't know what it is yet. So,
Right?
well, there's always more, right? But
Right.
as we go through, we let go, we see through a lot of this stuff. We're not as influenced by identity, by our conditioning, by our social structures, a religious background, whatever. That all that can be identity. But when a lot of that is gone, because that distorts our expression. When a lot of that is gone, then we can live really fully human, feeling everything and expressing dynamically, if that's our way. I mean, some people express in a very quiet way, and that's very natural to them. Um, my expression tends to be a little more dynamic and dramatic, but that's not everybody's. And to be fully human, it's the way yours is in its natural, authentic state.
Mhm. We have a couple of questions about shadow. So Stephanie is asked, can we resolve issues that are in shadow? Should that be the aim?
So here's what so the yes and no. Okay. Um, know when sometimes all that it takes is to bring up what has been in shadow into the light, into consciousness, allowing the feeling of it, the knowing of it. It may come with history, it may not, but the fullest knowing of it can bringing it into that boundlessness, it can begin to dissolve. And so actually, let me back up a little bit because I have a little formula that I think is valuable. So my formula is something like something shows up, we go, "Oh, that's difficult. Oh, that's okay. I can let that go." Well, okay. Well, it didn't stick. It's not sticky, so fine. There you go. It's that's all you need to do. But something shows up, it grabs us, and we say, "Oh, there it is. Yeah, boy, that really gets me." Oh, okay. Well, I have to be with it a little bit more. I have to breathe into it. I have to feel where it is in my body. I can have to see if I can let that relax and open. Okay, it's gone now. All right, that's all I need to do. Okay, the same thing comes up, grabs me. I look at it, it's still there. I feel the energy of it, still there. I breathe into it. I move. Work it through a little bit, and then it goes. Okay, that's all I need to do. Same thing comes up. I see it. I feel it. I move with it. Okay, still there. All right, now I want to trace it back in time. Where did it begin? I was 5 years old. My mother yelled at me. I contracted. I felt ugly and horrible. And that's the feeling. Oh my God, that just happened. That's what just happened when that person said that. Ah, I'm 5. Okay, bring that boundless love and all that to the 5-year old. Love her. Bring your wisdom, the wisdom of the adult that knows that she's loved, that feels love. Bring it to this child. And let her absorb it. And when she feels okay and relaxes, okay, now I've dealt with it. Now, you may have to do that a few times. It may not go the first time. But you do the first simplest thing. Oh, there it is, gone. I don't have to do anything with it at all. Or you feel the energy of it, or you move, and then you go back in time if you need to. So that's the yes and no. So sometimes all you have to do is see it and allow it and accept it in the boundlessness itself, and it's gone. Sometimes you have to go all the way back and deal with it back there.
And I believe there was one last element that, because you described this process in the book, and the last element is if with all of that you're still struggling, then you can seek help.
Yes, of course. Thank you. That's right. Yes, because sometimes we can't do it all by ourselves, right? We need to go, and of course, it's most useful if you're going to go, quote, to a therapist or somebody that's going to help you with that maybe they resonate a bit with this spiritual understanding.
Yeah.
Not necessary if they're really clear.
Is the shadow simply negative energy that limits us in our spiritual evolution?
No, it isn't. It's something that we don't know. So a shadow could also be, you say to somebody, "You are so radiant and lovely." And they say, "No, not me. No, I'm not like that. I'm not radiant. I'm really kind of a nasty, no, not me." Okay, what's in shadow is that they're radiant and lovely. So what's in shadow is something that is expansive. They have contracted and are holding on to a negative identity. And if they were to open to this radiance, that might begin to dissolve the negative identity. So it could be really positive or really negative or just something sticky in the middle.
Yeah, I think what this reminds me of is Michael Singer's description of samskaras.
Yes, there you go. That's right. Which could be anything in that continuum.
Right, right. Diane has a question she'd like to join us.
What is your view like of enlightenment? How does it fit into the way that you teach? And what is the purpose of the boundless silence?
Good.
Kind of a two-part question.
Yes, I was going to say there's more than one question there.
Enlightenment.
Okay.
How do you look at that?
Best I can say about enlightenment is that it is knowing what our true nature is and living it. What our true nature is boundless. Living as that, knowing that that is what we all are. That's as close as I can get to saying what enlightenment might be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what's the point of boundless? That's what we are. And that's what everyone is. And if I know that, then I will treat everyone with kindness. I won't want to hurt anyone because I'm hurting me.
Good.
So, and it opens this enormous compassion. I mean, it's more than compassion. It's like this empathy that I feel everyone is me. So I feel what they feel. I know it in me as mine. And therefore, if I know it in me as mine, I will do what I would do for me, for what I'm feeling that might be someone else's. But if I feel it is in me as mine, it is mine.
Applying the wisdom in a practical sense in the chaos of the evolutionary phase of the world right now, humanity, how do you see the activation of the full awakening to the boundless state for everyone, not just what I call the spiritual elite, the spiritual intelligentsia? Do you see it for everyone? I do see it that way. So I'm just
Well, I know that it is everybody's birthright to have this. Can everyone have it? Eventually.
So you don't see it now in this?
I don't.
While we're here.
I don't have any beliefs about anything. So I don't believe that will happen, or I don't believe it won't happen. There's really just this open spaciousness, and I meet each moment as it is. I really have a hard time having a belief.
Kind of another section of this conversation that we talked a little bit about yesterday, Lissa and I think it also goes back to this idea of bringing these things into our everyday lives, if you will, and integrating those things, and then through a conversation like this one and making it available, serving greater good for greater numbers. And so I think if we take everything that you've shared so far, Lissa, and then look at some of the ways that separation is showing up now, and then how we are also seeing movement toward the boundless, which I think was at least part of the essence of Diane's point. And so one of the things that we talked about, which is certainly very present, and and it is at a great intensity at times, is fear. And then we also touched on anger as also being very present, although I think we also agreed that anger is a manifestation of fear. But let's talk about a little bit about how we then can come to maybe perceive and understand, and then a knowing of fear and anger differently within this greater spaciousness of the boundless.
So, sure. So if we look at emotions as energy and different frequencies, we could start there. So fear and anger have a denser, more contracted frequency. They're tighter. They're a protection. There's a I'm separate and I'm scared. And because I'm scared, I'm going to be reactive, and I'm going to get angry at you because I have to protect myself from you. So, I'm separate. I'm here, you're there, and you're threatening me, and I'm scared. And that comes from that feeling of me and you and me and them, so it's really a scary thing. So as we open up and learn about our expanded, unlimited self, and really be it, that kind of fear and anger doesn't live there. It doesn't live there. What lives there is also love. I mean, love is another word for boundless. So from that place of love, there isn't a feeling of separate. I am you, you and me, you are me. I'm not scared, and I'm not angry. Now, it still may be that there's a recognition that so you're feeling a fear and anger towards me because my boundlessness is threatening to you. I see that. I can see that. And now I have a choice. I'm not going to engage that. So even though I'm in a boundless state, it doesn't mean that I won't notice that something is threatening and do what's appropriate to take care of myself if something is threatening. Right? But where we want to go, which talks to what Diane is talking about too, where we want to go is that we're living in that boundless state and knowing that everything is appearing and coming and going within that, and we're safe there. But there isn't, like I said that, but there isn't a feeling of now I'm safe here. Safety and non-safety don't even exist on that dimension. Because it is like another dimension. So, it's not like things get, we resolve things there. And this goes back to Stephanie's question. Sometimes when we can enter that boundless, expanded state, the issues that lurked in the more contracted state don't even exist there. They're not there.
So fear can be in the form of something that is just a belief and perception, or related to identity or shadow or those things we talked before, but it can also be associated with a genuine threat.
Yes,
And
absolutely. But so a genuine threat would be somebody walks into my room right now with a gun. I'm probably going to get scared. It's my guess that adrenaline, the adrenaline rush, but who knows? Maybe I'll be in the moment and like be frozen. I might even, I'll be in shock. I don't know, but that's real. What we're usually afraid of is watching the news and hearing something that is about to happen, and then becoming afraid that it's going to happen, or knowing that having a belief that there's certain kind of people that are dangerous and they look a certain way. So we see one of those people and we're like, oh, there's one of those people that could be dangerous and I'm scared of them. Now I'm defensive. So it could be just beliefs, it could be concepts, it could be identity, and it could be the mind taking in information and building up stories of what's going to happen next in the world and in my life. It could be in the world, it could be in my life. Like some people get a headache and they think they have a brain tumor and they're scared.
The common point where these two come together, the fear that we've created in our minds or some other part of us versus something that we should genuinely be responding to to increase our safety or well-being, is that both opening up more into the boundless is an appropriate response in both of these scenarios. You heighten awareness in the understanding what is actually real versus what you may have created as a reality. But if you're facing a real threat and you also open, you can see that more clearly and know that it is genuine and that you need
Absolutely, that's right.
Because the person could walk into your home with a gun, and it could be that they're aware of something else that they're protecting you from, right? And you may not know it at the time, but if you are able to. Now, these are things that I also don't want to come off as, oh, so we can zen out in any situation and it's just fine. We're still human.
So it has nothing to do with zenning out. And, even when I just talk about meditating, it's not about zoning out and going into like, that kind of, I spent years there.
Blissing out.
Oh boy, that was a great meditation, but I didn't know the truth. I didn't know what boundless was. I was just in like a dreamy state. Anyway, and it has nothing to do with that. So it does have to do with clearing away beliefs and concepts and anything non-essential so that you are fully alive and present and right there for whatever happens. Feeling everything, but not from beliefs and concepts, just whatever is coming. A lot of it is very beautiful.
This has reminded me too of another section or part of the book where you go into some discussion about story. And it struck me that, first of all, it reminded me of some things that resonated, but it also made me think about in our time, I think part of what stirs these emotional energies so much is we're exposed to so much story and so many others' stories, right? And then I want to put this in the form of a question. Do you think that we are incorporating other stories and making them our own more frequently now?
That's kind of what I was talking about at the very beginning of this, taking in the news, hearing what's going on, and maybe even what you're talking about could even be a friend of mine telling me their story. And I mean, that happens to a lot of people. Somebody says, oh my God, this thing is happening to me. And then you're thinking, oh, is it happening to me? Maybe it's happening to me too. It's the same thing. Oh my God, I bet it, and you're lost in story. So you take all that energy, you bring it down into your body. You breathe. You get it out of the mind. So you can't solve these stories with other stories in your mind. We didn't talk about this, Ken, but this is really important because what a lot of people will do is say, Oh, yeah, maybe the headache is a brain tumor. No, it's not a brain tumor. That's ridiculous. That's an illusion. Oh, no, no. I mean, the other person, I know a friend of mine, she had a headache. It was a brain. Yeah, but no, maybe maybe I should take an ibuprofen and see if and so you're still here. You're not resolving anything. Come out of the energy in the mind. Bring it into the body. Breathe into your gut. Breathe into your heart and gut. Get down in there. Breathe. Take no thought. Just getting into that quiet stillness and see what's left. Probably not much.
Yeah, it is an alternative to going to Chat GPT. And I'm obviously being sarcastic, but it
Yeah,
is
I
it
know,
is
but
true because that's another
yes.
flavor of what you were
Yeah,
describing.
yes, I know.
It's
No,
part of the rumination.
don't look for the more words that answer a question. Come out of the mind, come into the body, breathe. That's where life is. That's when we're present to the world and in ourself in life. We're going to miss life if we're in our story. We'll miss our whole life. You don't want to miss your life.
Beautiful, beautiful. There are a couple other things I thought we could touch on if you still have some time.
If everybody is still interested.
Well, I think just a couple of things that I'll just mention because everything that we've been talking about that you've shared about finding this essence, this essential energy and state. It also applies to other things that we have to cope with. And I think a lot of what we're facing individually and collectively on an increasing basis that goes to also the it's why maybe dealing with recognizing identity and belief and resolving or working with shadow, they represent to part of us at least the loss. And we have to
I know
let
what
go
you're
of
talking
these
about.
things.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then if we're facing any more significant loss, like someone passing or transitioning, those can throw us. Obviously, those are very weighty, emotional, astral
And
energy experiences.
they don't come with non-essential stories.
Right, right,
So those are very real. So the loss of a person, we're going to grieve for sure, and we should. And there's a lot of concepts and belief in our culture about how long we're allowed to grieve and what is the right kind of grieving, and all that is kind of ridiculous. But so we will grieve, but we will also grieve our identity. We'll feel a little lost. We might feel kind of ungrounded, unstable as identity begins to fall away. um, Beliefs can be very shocking when something you really believed as if you knew it was true is blown apart. Your mind is blown, literally.
right,
That literally happens. Your mind is just blown open.
right.
And you might feel elated and high, or you might feel scared and ungrounded. And so to recognize that can happen. Um, and sometimes you might want to seek some guidance from someone who's gone through that, who might just say, that's okay, you'll get through it, or something even deeper. But yeah, there's grief and loss in this process.
And with these intense things, and another example that I think is present and maybe increasingly present because of some changes that the external environments are affecting family relationships more, and some of that is coming up. And so these are also great areas of either challenge or opportunity, depending on one's perspective.
Well, it's
But
both. It can be
there,
both. Yeah, go ahead.
there's an essential element of your work and sharing that this always comes back to, and that is the boundless is always there. It's the constant, and it's
Con-
always available, even in these times where it may be very difficult to find or to get to that quietness because
But
of the
see,
charge.
that's why I like to give my little teaching on the space between the thoughts,
Exactly.
because if you're looking for like where is it, where is it? Oh, I better meditate for an hour. I'm not getting there, you know. But if you really take 1 minute and your mind says, "Hi, a minute, it's not enough time." There it is. But it doesn't. There it is. But what if I can't find it later? There it is again. And what's important there is there's a subtle but enormously profound shift to where you're more interested in the space than those words.
Yeah, right.
So the words keep coming and the space is there. It's there. It's there. Oh, okay, I'm beginning to be more interested in that space than following my mind. The mind can be fascinating for some people. So to shift that fascination to the quiet little tiny little space. It's a portal to the boundless. 1 minute here and there. Because because for me it was the repetitive feel that, embody that, walking through the world, feeling that, embodying it, forgetting about it, remembering it, forgetting about it, remembering it, until, wow, it's kind of always there. Look at that. Wow.
Right. And I think that's the growth. Um, the last area that I wanted to touch on is regards kind of your work that you're engaging in more and deliberately emphasizing. And we talked about some of this in the context of the wisdom and how there are the many paths up the mountain, but they lead to the same summit. They're the what's at the top of the mountain is the same regardless of which path. And there were two general paths that we talked about, you described, the indirect
Yeah.
and the direct. So you want to talk about those a little bit
Yeah, I'll talk
and
about
then
that, and
accessing the direct.
that might be a good place to stop it
Yeah,
too. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah.
So there's the non-direct, the indirect path, and the direct path. Um, and I've done both. So and this will lead to, and we'll talk about that too, standing on each other's shoulders. So,
Mhm.
so for me, I did many years of long meditations with many different teachers and did psychotherapy to undo shadow work, all that stuff. And I did a lot of yoga and blah, 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 blah. And that's the indirect path. I did a little step and a little step climbing up the mountain. So the base of the mountain is I'm a separate person with beliefs, fears, and identity. So as I climb up, I let go. I let go a little bit more, and I have a little bit more. Ooh, I have an aha moment, but I forgot about that. But now and I get to the top. I'm boundless. Okay, direct path. Notice the space between your thoughts. Be fascinated with that. The stillness, that's boundless. That's what you are. You're there. You're on the top of the mountain. So, you can have huge of neurotic shadow belief concepts. It's all murky and gooey, and you say, oh, but in between is still, wow, it's alive. It's vibrant. It's boundless. I'm on the top of the mountain. Now you're on the top of the mountain, and some of that sticky, gooey stuff goes, okay, but I'm gonna like ooze my way in here. Okay, now you got to look at that. Get rid of that. Okay, now I can get to the top of the mountain again. Oh, but the gooey stuff. So one of the things that I learned along the way, because I would hear about this direct path and think, oh, you just pop up and you're boundless and that's it. Your work is done. You're always there. It's like, well, you can get there directly, but that doesn't mean that you stay there permanently. But you know how to get there. You do know how to get directly there, and then the shadow gooey stuff comes and you work through that and there you go again. And then something else comes and you work through that and there you go again. So it's like you go directly there, and then some of that indirect path you need to deal with it.
As things appear to be unfolding, this is part of the conversation, and part was in the context of we may be seeing a shift where the opportunity to meander up the path isn't as available as it was.
So this is where I brought up standing on each other's shoulders. So what happens, and there are some, and I wish I could be a little clearer about the scientific studies, but they are there. So there's a whole slew of us that meditated for 30 years, 40 years, hours a day. And there was a huge amount of benefit from that. That has been learned, and now people can stand on our shoulders and they don't have to do that much of it. It's like some that, and I noticed that in my groups, there'll be some of us that are older that did a lot of work, and then a new person comes in that's 35 and says, "Oh, right, yeah, I know, I'm boundless." And no, she hasn't even been alive long enough to do all the meditation I did, But there's a standing on each other's shoulders. So now what I was bringing up to Ken, and we could look it up to actually find it, but Rupert Sheldrake brought up a study, and he studied animals a lot. He was really into animals, and he did a study with animals where a certain kind of animal, and I don't remember which one he brought up. I think it might have been pigeons. I don't remember it clearly, where they learned something. These pigeons learned something. They died, and the next iteration of pigeons knew that thing that the first pigeons learned, standing on each other's shoulders. They didn't have to go through the training. They knew it. That's what's happening. We did it because it's all one thing. So this energy of exploring and meditating and quieting this amazingly noisy mind happened. And I'm not saying that this is now everybody in the world can now be boundless, but for those who are on this journey, this is known to them already. My daughter, when she was 20, came to one of my meditation groups. So that's how long I've been doing this. And she sat and meditated, and afterwards, she stayed. It was like a Sunday, and we would have dinner together, and she'd say, "Oh, so what you're doing in there has to do with enlightenment. I went into a place where there was nothing going on. It was really very nice." I was like, "Yeah, that's true." Okay,
This is also provides an opportunity to demonstrate that what was once perhaps more secretive or esoteric, this is in the wisdom. It's all over
Yes,
in
and
any
where it was knit,
presentation. You're
and
going to find these references. It may be called uh, a field, or it's an energy that comes once we bring it into form. It's then out there in the universal field, the quantum field, the Akashic field, whatever reference you might run into. But
that's right.
there, and so it isn't just woo-woo stuff. These are
No,
real, and
no,
then you can find examples of this more and more. And there are times when these things show up in life and we kind of take them for granted because they're there. But once you peel some things back and realize, oh wait, there's something more to this phenomenon,
yeah, that's right.
and that reinforces then the wholeness and oneness of everything, and all emanating from the boundless, really.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So this is, as I kind of knew, there wasn't much of a betting line in Vegas on this was going to be a great conversation. Uh, there weren't odds on it. It was known, and it certainly has not disappointed. I thought maybe we could close with the one of the other poems from Debbie's work that speaks to this last topic. So this poem is called The Path.
Ah, good.
Yeah, and I just like to say, I've known Lissa since I was in my late 20s, and I'm not in my late 20s anymore. So for a very long time, and so I sort of I'd like to just express gratitude to Lissa because I feel like I've gotten to draft her on this journey. She's taken the sort of headwinds of the spiritual journey, and therefore my path has been simpler as I kind of tucked in and behind her and drafted her. So thank you, Lissa. Just honored. Yeah, the path. So this journey to awakening is not for the faint-hearted. I started slowly with a heavy load, carrying my fears and feelings upon my back, afraid to go anywhere without them. But as I struggled along the trail, each step forced me to leave something behind. My sadness now lies in the dust, my resistance in the grass. I left my grief on a boulder and my fear of being too much under a tree. One by one, step by step, my load is lightened, my pace quickened. I'm not sure where this path is taking me. I do know I will arrive unburdened, free.
Beautiful. Another way to
So
put it.
beautiful.
Thank you, Debbie. So yes,
I
Lissa,
love
let's
that one.
find out a little bit more what you're doing and what people can, where they can find you, and please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So Ken talked about my website. Um, I do a retreat once a year, and there's a retreat, and it's a 4 day semi-silent, not really, it's silent but not really silent, and we explore and explore together. It's very rich. So that's happening in December. I have a Monday night meeting that sometimes is only on Zoom, but it always includes Zoom, where we explore these kinds of things. That might be morphing into a book study group where we do one chapter at a time, which and this is just forming, so it's probably going to be twice a month. I don't know what day it'll be on. It'll be an hour and a half. Um, we'll do a meditation. I'll read from a chapter, and we'll have a discussion. I did this with book 1 and 2, and I learned a lot. Even though I wrote the book, every time we discussed a chapter, I would learn more about what the chapter actually meant. So it was quite rich. And so I'm really looking forward to doing that again with this book. So if you're interested in any of that, contact me. And also my email is lissafriedman@gmail. So contact me if you're interested in anything.
And will that also be on the website?
It will be. That could take a little while. I have to, because I don't do it. I have my daughter do it. So it will be when I figure out when it's going to be and all that kind of stuff.
So we'll include your email in the YouTube notes too.
Yeah. So
Okay.
email me if you're interested, and yeah. So
And you have a mailing list too,
Yes, I
right?
do have a mailing list. So if you want to be on the mailing list, send me an email and I'll put you on my email list. Yes. And that's a definite way to find out about everything.
I don't see any other hands up virtually or otherwise, so I think
So
this
I
has
want
been
to
a
say
great conversation.
thank you, Ken. You did a really good job and it was really good
Oh,
tonight.
oh, it's an honor, and really, it's nice to find a way to serve a little bit, and to help share this. It's feels more and more like some of the most important work I have ever done. So
It
it's just an
is.
honor.
This is
So
good
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and I want to also acknowledge uh, Mary Bast, who is in the audience this evening, and she is the person that introduced me to you. So,
Oh, is that right?
Oh my God. That's right. She was your coach, wasn't
Oh
she?
my
She was
yeah,
God, yes, and I've known
yeah,
Mary a very long time and love her deeply. So there she is.
yeah.
beautiful.
So many thanks to keep the spiral turning and running into each other
Ah,
again. It's
that's
lovely.
how
So,
that happened. That's
yeah,
great. Okay.
yeah. So, thanks everyone.